Good late morning, and it is currently the 28th of October. On the Monday, the first week of this week's trading week. I just wanted to go over my analysis today for the pound, all done in advance, which you can see in my Discord. So what I actually started by doing is this morning I just scanned through the charts like rapidly, like just looking at how they're set up in my head, and then I done my outlook after, because I just wanted to get it down and then be okay, I know what's going to happen. And then what I wanted to do is go through everything. So I guess what I can quickly do is just read through this, which is like what I've done after I had concluded what the most probable direction already was that was likely to prevail over European morning trading session of the 28th of October, real time, as of how each ambush was set up prior to the most recent bar close. Yeah. So the monthly chart, I'm not going to click on the things, I'm just going to like read over the things. So we see relative to the weekly chart perspective, the current in-play atom push closed in the entirety of its previous atom push's range in its entirety and is traded below the previous... no, this is the weekly. Yeah, and it's traded below the previous atom push's range low, with a sufficient structured atom push to the downside, but is the atom push in play now set up itself in a fashion for reaction to take place? No. Nah. Because even though it's closed in the entirety of its previous atom push's range and traded in below the previous atom push's range low, how is the atom push itself structured? It's got a nice counter quantity, its quality is nice, and then the existing angle the push is pushing in, it just doesn't look done with unfolding out to the downside. It just doesn't look done pushing. It's not off the saw of a type of push that looks done. And then also the way the most recent bar closed like amongst the existing structure of the atom push itself, the way it formed, still pointed for lower. And the monthly, because as a result of it only having 3 days left, structured in this fashion, it looked good to just keep pushing lower over the next bar, but obviously form its anatomy and then push lower. So, and then obviously we can get an idea of how the subsequent weekly bars are likely to form like with it regard to its anatomy by how next lower time frames are set up. But yeah, as I said here, so not particularly, and the angle the weekly push is pushing in relative to the itself, although having pushed in its previous atom pushes range in its entirety and trading below the previous atom pushes range low, thus trading in territory for where a reaction would make sense to unfold only if the atom push itself started to form with regard to its structure in a fashion which pointed to the atom push itself stopping pushing to the downside. Now, is this push structured in a way that would suggest it's done pushing? No. It still looks like there's momentum there to keep pushing. It's not, even though it's in an area where a reaction is likely to take place from, is it likely to? No. So yeah, 3 day, we see the weekly chart perspective in a bit more of a granular fashion. The 3 day atom push itself to the downside, it was well structured. It closed in the entirety of its previous range and below its low with a nice sufficiently structured push. The way the 3 day bar closed prior to the bar that's in play covering today's trading session for the morning, amongst the existing structure, it still looked like the existing atom push wasn't done pushing. 2 day verified that. Daily 2. 12 hour 2. 8 hour was iffy, but based on how next step higher time frames were set up, made sense to keep pushing lower. 7 hour looked good to keep pushing lower. 4 hour iffy, but based on how next step higher time frames were set up, it made sense to keep pushing lower. But then this just reinforced the case for looking for the 1 hour chart set up in a proper fashion, to then go on side with the most probable direction that's likely to prevail primarily over European morning trading session, to look for in a bit more of a stronger fashion than usual. So like, we wouldn't be waiting for a 15 bar close or whatever, and we'd also need to see the 1 hour retrace some of its and push its range. So like, this high was so this high was Asia's high. So CME Open is 11 o'clock UK time, 23, and so that's when the currencies first open, and yeah, so I wanted to see the market retrace to these prices, to these prices or better, and then see a nice 1 hour bar close, which, like I said, which is what we're waiting for as of 8:55 a.m. So like this is all real time, you know. It's like, and I also done this before too, as of the open. Because obviously this is the 8 a.m. bar, and then it didn't close nice, and then this would be a 7. So this is the information that you would have. Disregard this. How is the chart set up as of, like, can I even do that? So yeah, you can kind of see it there. So like, how is the chart set up there? It looks good to keep pushing higher, based on this atom push being sufficiently structured to the downside, closing it the entirety of its previous atom pushes range, and then also traded below the previous atom pushes range low, and then also the kilo, which is like from this high to the point it was broken, whereas from this high to the point it was broken, where's the lowest point traded, it's here. And then you kind of got these double lows too, into a nice area where then the atom push itself started to structure itself, started to like structure up in a fact, like, that's retarded saying that, but like it started to form itself in a fashion that suggested the push may be done. So like keep pushing lower. So like as of this bar close, you get like right here it would start to become iffy and unclear, and you'd probably have to look at how next step lower time frames and higher are set up, like you're surrounding nearby time frames, to get a gist of what's likely to happen relative to the initial time frame. But as of this bar close, and then obviously this one, which would be the bar you had available prior to 7 a.m, it looked like this push was done pushing, and then now this is the newly emerged push and play, and then you've got this at hand pushes range, because high and low to play. So you got this entire range, and then you're situated right at the low end region, so you got a lot of it to play. But would you long? No, because of how higher time frames are set up. The 12, because it could easily just keep pushing lower from here, regardless of whether it looked good relative to the 1 hour. Because relative to higher time frame chart perspectives and how those pushes were set up and structured to push like primarily over their relative next bar opens that naturally covered 28th of October's European morning trading session, being poised to primarily push lower. You know, you don't want to go against that. It's just best to not. So what you want to do, and you also don't want to just sell either. You want to wait for the 1 hour chart to then set up on side in the most appropriate manner relative to how it's set up as of 7 a.m. in the most appropriate fashion. That makes sense relative to how like your intraday time frames, your higher time frames, and your major high time frames are all set up to then go on side with the most probable direction. So remember, the 4 hour was set up kind of nice for higher. The 8 hours iffy, the 7 hours nice for lower. I'm just working out my head here, by the way. And then the 12 hour was set up nice for lower. I'm closing my eyes too. The daily was, it was set up nice for lower. The 2 day was set up beautiful for lower short term. I'm aware of where it was situated amongst the atom push, which is also the overall atom push as a whole. It's situated right at the very lows. But then also how the weekly chart perspective set up, it's set up still to keep pushing lower. So you're like using your context for each next step lower time frame. So like your next step lower time frame from the weekly would be like your 2 day-ish. Your next step higher time frame would be around your weekly-ish. So you're just using a bit of logic too, and this is where experience comes in, by the way. But yeah, so how I thought would be most appropriate to deal with the 1 hour chart according to how today was set up as of 7 a.m. So what I mean by this is this. Okay, so just drop down all my time frames just briefly. So this is literally what I do when, like, I look at them for maybe a bit more than obviously what I'm doing here. But oops. So like also just here, I know I'm digressing a bit, don't worry, I have not forgot what I'm going on about. I'm going on about how I must see what the most appropriate way it was this morning to deal with how the 1 hour chart perspective was set up as of this morning. So I haven't forgot. But these are, you see how here you kind of got some short-term at-hand pushes going on. So like this would be one big at-hand push, which would also fall under the category of being a overall. And then you got these, and then you got this. So this was this, and you just push, 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 push. So again, you've got your overall, and it also fell into the category of being an at-hand. So you got this low and high, and then you've got this structure going on, and then you've got like a lowish put in here. You kind of close in the entirety of this as of this moment in time's previous at-hand pushes range, and then you kind of got this going on. You got some potentially short-term SST short-term at-hand pushes going on, and yeah, this confirms right here. And then where you're situated within the short term relative to daily at-hand push, you're all situated right at the lows. But then you've also got like a SSST short term structure going on here. And then obviously you drop to the 12 hour, verify whether that indeed is likely to pan out. It is, look at the most recent bar close prior to the bar that encapsulates the European monitoring session relative to the given day. This bar closed, how it closed like. It closed nicely for pushing lower. And then relative to 12 hour at-hand pushes, you kind of got this going on. Yeah, so this would be at-hand push relative to 12 hour, but I may as well smart it up. And then obviously, one sec, actually I'm digressing again from where from my initial digress point, but then you've kind of got some short-term structure going on right here. Now, I'm not going to mark this up but because I think I'm probably going to like delineate or highlight short-term at-hand pushes, so SST at-hand pushes with like a dashed line or something, just so I can differentiate. But then I also don't want my chart getting too cluttered, so maybe it's like a dot like that. But I'll rather just use my experience to distinguish them instead of having them marked up. But so my eyes are locked onto that though, so you kind of got push down, push lower. But this kind of would fall into the same category for the at-hand push itself relative to 12 hour. Obviously, this structure would become more granular relative to lower time frames. But then, where's this at-hand push situated amongst the previous short-term 12 hour at-hand push? This range, which would be like this range right here. Number one, it's more sufficiently structured than this range. So it's more sufficiently structured in terms of its kind of quantity, and then it's quality per bar too. So it's like it's quality per bar for comprising the at-hand push is better than this. So it's more structured, like for retracement. So it's took more bars to push up past this region than it took to push down, which then also suggests what direction momentum's likely to go in. But anyway, we don't go like that. We deal with how the at-hand push is set up now to gauge momentum. We don't look at the past. So anyway, how this bar closed amongst the existing structure of the at-hand push, where it's situated above this high, closed in the entirety of the short-term structure at-hand push's range, on top of how the next step higher time frames are set up, it made sense to continue pushing lower over the next 12-hour bar. But because of where you are situated relative to the 12-hour at-hand push's range, kind of at the low end, really, I would expect the next bar to possibly form its wick and then start to push lower. Most recent bar closed prior to 7. It was iffy, but then based on how next step higher time rules were set up, and then obviously the 7 hour too, the next step lower was set up on top of the context extrapolated from higher time frames. It did make sense to keep pushing lower, even regardless of the 8 hour being set up a bit iffy. And then and then you've got the 4 hour chart set up like this as of 7 a.m. So I know it closes at, oh, actually no, this bar does close at 7. I'm aware of the daytime daylight savings crap that's applicable to this week. So you got this structure going on. You got this. You got this. You got this. You're below the structure of this, like I haven't pushed relative to 4 hour. I'm aware it's a relatively short term at-hand push, but it would be classified in my head as the short term at-hand push, and then this would be the overall here. So you still got a bit more of the overall at-hand push, but then with this structured at-hand in-play push structured the way it is, amongst its previous atom push, closing the entirety, trading below a low. The way this bar closed amongst the existing structure of the atom push and its angle, it suggests it was possibly done. So you would definitely want to be careful with going short straight off the bat. You would not want to do that. But it still is likely to primarily push lower over European one trading session. 2 hour backs up the 4 hour. So yeah, so then in terms of, so the 2 hour backs up the 4 hour, establishing the reality for the words are in my head, but I can't get them out, and I'm working on getting that better, by the way. But like, it's paved the way for like the neural, like, logical links in my head of how I must see the 1 hour setup, right? Based on how, you know, the next higher time frames, like the 7, 8, 12 daily 2-day are set up, and then the 4-2 are set up. So obviously they're shorter time frame. The 12 hour encapsulates a larger time frame duration, so does the 2 days, so that holds more significance because the direction that subsequent bars are likely to primarily push in is likely to primarily push lower. If it's a 2-day chart perspective you're looking at, then it's likely to primarily push lower over a 2-day time period. And then if the 12 hour set up like that, the 7 hour, it's likely to primarily push lower. But then you must then deal with how next step lower time frames are set up. They are set up for upside, so then you don't want to short straight off the bat. You then want to see how the 1 hour set up. Now, how the 1 hour setup, I've already outlined that earlier on in the video. So what I would want to see is I would want to see the market retrace to better prices, retrace some of this previous atom push, what was in play. This is now the new in play atom push, which is the newly emerged atom push. Now you would want to see this retrace in some of the previous atom push range to better prices, and then also see a nice first initial intent exhibit of the day 1 hour bar close, which is simply something like this. You could have this wick, and you could have a larger wick at the top, and then that would be nice. And then also if it had a nice bit of a decent sufficient structure, but ideally an optimal sufficient first initial intent exhibit of the day bar close would be something like this, something like that. That would be nice. Yeah, that would be beautiful. So that's what I would be waiting for in this, from prices the same or better than this region, which is obviously the high of Asia. So it opens at 23, and then I'd stop looking at, I'd stop defining Asia from 5. So obviously as of this bar close, so this is your range, and I wanted to see the market retrace above here and then be traded within the fashion what materializes a nice 1 hour bar close. Now subsequent bar closes nice tip for longs, for bullishness, not longs. It's likely to keep on pushing to the upside with regard to the atom push and place momentum, and then the way this bar closed, that validates that. And then the way this bar closed, the 9 a.m. bar, we got a nice first initial intent exhibit of the day bar close. So we got the nice first initial intent exhibit of the day bar close as of 9 o'clock in the area that we wanted to, which is actually in a better area. Like I said, it could have just been from or better. So at or from, no, how would you even say that? It would be from or better or something along those lines. I worded it good in the Discord, in Andrew's Discord, which I'm not going to be joining back. But anyway, so you get the 1 hour sets up appropriately to how it must do so, and then what you do is you drop down to the 15-minute time frame and then look for a ISLQS, which I'd like to call it that, so I don't have to say intra-session liquidity sweep. So basically so I'll just, instead of digressing, so what you would want to see is you just want to see a liquidity point be like a key liquidity intraday point be traded past, and then a sufficient 15M nice bar close as of the most recent bar 15M close prior to the bar that prior to the 1 hour bar that confirmed. So it could be the most recent 15M bar that closes when the nice 1 hour bar closes, or from. So it can either be like on the nice 1 hour bar close in regards to the 15M bar, or from. It cannot be before. So anyway, how does the most recent 15M bar what closes when the 1 hour bar validated? How does that close? Like, it's not sufficient anatomic bar close. An anatomic bar close would be something like this. So, well, for bearishness, I'll just put it black. It would need to be something like this. So even if you had like a decent wick on the downside, right, the body would have to be somewhat nice, and then this would be a really iffy one, to be fair. But because you've got a higher topside wick, and then also if this bar formed like this, it would be valid because you got some kind of stoppy out. You kind of got some like momentum dwindling going on, halting momentum. You know, it's pushed up and then it's kind of topping out ish, and then kind of wick rejecting. You know, you're getting already some nice 1 hour bar closes. If this bar closes like this, yeah. So it's also contextually relevant. But obviously, if this bar form like that and it's like a doji, no. But yeah, and then also if ideally you get something like this where it's just like you got like pushes up quite high, and then and then just at the end it starts to push lower, and then on the close it's like pushed like this, and you got no bottom side wick, and then it's just ready to drop off a cliff on the next bar. That they're nice. But it's all contextually relevant, to be fair, anyway, relative to the situation at hand. You know, it's like, because that's what dictates how you do, what dictates how you act relative to the given day, right? So, damn, I'm just looking outside. It's like what it would be in summertime at like 3 o'clock, and it's 12:30. I know it's, damn, that's so crazy. It like happens that quick. I guess it is meant to be 1:30, but yeah, that's probably right actually. Anyway, so yeah, the 15M bar closed prior to the confirmed time when the 1 hour bar closed, because obviously this bar closes when the 1 hour bar formed nicely and closed at 10. So if that bar closed nice, then yeah, you can just show off the bat, but it didn't. So you can wait for the next bar, because obviously we start at 10, but obviously the 10 a.m. bar runs from 10 till 15. So you wait until then, and then obviously it didn't form nice, so then you're not doing anything, and then that, yeah, pushed higher. And yeah, so yeah, that was GBP USD today, of how I approached it. And then obviously I've shown this here, so that was like the last thing of today, because all that was left to do then was wait for your nice 1 hour bar, and then wait for a 15M nice bar close above a 15M, above a liquidity point viewed on the 15M time frame. So yeah, that's it.